Hello YouTube and fellow Star Wars collectors! On this episode of Toys All the Way, we will be taking a look at the third character from a recent wave of vintage collection figures for 2024, the Mandalorian Judge from Season 3 of The Mandalorian. So once again, we have another character that's decked out in Beskar armor and ready to be added to our collection of Mandalorians. The Judge was certainly not high on my wish list, but I did want to see some of these covert members added to the vintage collection in a timely manner. They're basically just repaints, and these should be easy extra things for Hasbro to be getting into our collections. But with that being said, there are a number of characters that we still need from Season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. Specifically, we still need the Client, we still need Season 1 Grief Karga, we need the Prison Crew, and the list just goes on. So, while I appreciate the onslaught of Mandalorian repaints, I do want to see a lot more characters added to the vintage collection that are much more unique. But with that being said, let's take a closer look at the Mandalorian Judge and card. Taking a look at our vintage style packaging, we have the Star Wars and Mandalorian logo placed nicely up top, followed by the Mandalorian Judge on a fantastic Lagoon nameplate color. We have a nice image of the character from Season 3 of The Mandalorian, looking very prestigious on that beach in front of the covert, and then we have the Kenner logo down below, just tying everything together. And lastly, we have a nice fully articulated 3.75 figure looking very good on that bubble, especially with all those paint applications popping against that nice Lagoon nameplate color. On the back, he is VC 321 in the line, the Mandalorian Judge, and we have a small description of the character followed by the Vintage Collection logo down below and additional images of the card and figure. So all in all, this is going to make an excellent addition to our Mandalorian carded collections, and while I totally understand the Mando fatigue that is hitting the community with all of these repaints, I do think that the Judge was a decent option to go with. But moving forward, I would like to see these covert members make their way into a 4-pack instead, something that we can really, kit bash and mix and match and fill out our Mandalorian armies like that, and leave the main line for very important characters that we still need to add to our collections. Taking a look at the Mandalorian Judge out of the packaging, this is a character and action figure that we're just becoming very familiar with in the vintage collection. We have seen a number of Mandalorians, so there's not much different here in terms of sculpting and stuff like that. And in fact, this one is actually a direct repaint of the recent Fleet Commander. The only thing that sets this figure apart is the soft goods cape. And of course, this one has a number of paint applications, which in my opinion look much better. And taking a look at the helmet in general, you can see that there's a lot of weathering there around his T-visor and all around the back, and I think that actually looks really nice. He also has, of course, hits of silver on his rangefinder, and then metallic scuffing on his chest plate, and just like different hits of color here and there with a little bit of weathering and accent. So I think that actually looks really nice in my opinion. Taking a look at the articulation, the Judge has a number of things that we want to see on our modern 3.75 Star Wars action figures. He in fact has the new style barbell hips, which are pretty good but don't feel quite as fluid as maybe some of our other all new from the ground up figures. In fact, he does have a problem with the knee, which I pointed out on the Fleet Commander, is that it doesn't go that far back. It's not hitting that 90-degree bend. It's a 45 at best, which kind of sucks and honestly makes it a little bit difficult to get him in a very low dynamic pose. So that's unfortunate, and also it really affects him doing like a kneel on the ground. So that's a bit of a shame, but he does have, rocker ankles, and for the most part he is a pretty decent figure. But moving on to the upper articulation, this is where he shines because, Hasbro's really figured this out. You got a nice bend here. You got the ball jointed everything on the arms. He's got hinges at the wrist. We got the soft plastic armor, which this is new on him in the Fleet Commander. So on the upper part, he's going to do great. His head, doesn't have a lot, but at least that is solid articulation there. But I really think, the lower legs could have been a bit better in my opinion. Taking a look at the soft goods, it's a new design that I think has been done very well. So you have the hole up top that goes over the barbell neck joint, and then you simply fold this other piece with another hole on it and just put it over the barbell. And then it adds some really nice folds and drapes to this figure, which, I think just look fantastic. So that's been engineered very well in my opinion. And it's also a very soft, fabric material, which I just think it looks really good. They absolutely nailed that. And then of course we have the jetpack, which is now standardized with that peg hole, so you can mix and match if you really want to get extras of these and make your own covert Mandalorians. The trailers for Season 3 of The Mandalorian introduced a handful of non-Mandalorian characters, but for the most part was saturated with colorful repaint and kit bash opportunities, and Hasbro wasted no time on delivering those types of figures. The Mandalorian Judge is a repaint of the Fleet Commander, who is based off the Clone Wars Airborne Trooper with new shoulder armor and newly sculpted lower legs. While the figure is fully loaded with new style hips, ball-jointed everything, and rocker ankles, the lack of a full 90-degree bend at the knee really does hinder the posing capabilities of this Mandalorian warrior. The Judge cannot properly take a knee, and for the most part just feels a little less agile than other Mandos in our collection. While the articulation isn't my favorite, the figure has some remarkably nice paint applications and soft goods that help add much needed value to this repaint. Although, I have to point out that the lack of a holster is always less than favorable, even if it is screen accurate. I hope you've enjoyed this video and taking a look at this latest addition to the vintage collection, The Mandalorian Judge from Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It really helps and is always greatly appreciated. Thanks everyone, and may the Force be with you.